Tricks, you know what I'm talking about? That lettuce, that lettuce. Gotta get it. Gotta get it. That lettuce, that lettuce, focused all on the check. Yeah, all I want is lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce.
Lettuce heads, we are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. Tonight you got Goldie and Jewel back together, and we're going to be bringing on a special guest in just a minute. But, you know, the last couple times Jewel's on the pod, we had the other guys with us, and we didn't even get to you to see how you're doing. So let me start there, Jewel. How are we doing this evening?
You ruined my one bit for the night. I was going to ignore you and pretend that you didn't speak to me again 3 weeks in a row. So, yeah, thanks for asking. I'm doing great. I'm tired. We're preparing for a golf trip this week. Got a lot of work going on. My wife has got mahjong tonight. So I got the girls. I just put the oldest to sleep, but I'm excited to be here. This should be a really fun interview.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into it too, sensitive to our guest time. He's waiting in the little holding area for us, but breaking the fourth wall. I gotta do it already. I literally, right before we hopped on, I got some new shoes I'm going to be displaying out on the golf trip. I went downstairs and realized I got to break these things in over the next few days. So I went and put them on for the podcast. I maybe hold on a sec. We'll really got I flexible. There we go. Okay. So
wait, have you ever heard that for new shoes that you're gonna be walking in a lot, you should buckle or lace them up and get into the shower with them?
Okay.
Seriously.
Runners
do it.
I'll take your word for it. But my wife thinks I'm insane enough. She walks in. If I got these golf shoes on in the shower, dude, we got a serious problem. All right. So speaking of not serious problems, amazing problems to have, our guest today, he's got a wealth of knowledge in the world of golf. And at this point, golf travel and profiling golf courses is fundamental to what we do here at Please Let Us Golf and what we love to do. It's kind of why we started it, right? But even for us, sometimes the complication of it can all be a little overwhelming of planning and executing these trips. The majority of the sought after destinations, especially stateside, right? Whether it be individual courses, resorts, they got their own timelines, booking windows, digital queues. You got to call a phone line. You got to enter a lottery and not get selected at Bandon Dunes. It's easily can become a deterrent or reason not to have amazing golf experiences. And like we said, we've ran into that ourselves the last few years. But today, we got some good news for you, because today we are talking to somebody who's crafted his life and now his business around navigating these waters. And I mean that in the most literal sense, breaking the fourth wall again. This is very literal terminology here. This isn't just hyperbolic speak. As he's only one of a handful of people who have set out and actually accomplished the task of playing the top 100 golf courses in the world and the United States. But before you get mad or jealous like I did when I heard that, then I talked to him and realized he's an awesome dude. He's got a wealth of knowledge because of that and experience. And he went out and he launched Red Stag Travel Co, not just your standard golf travel or booking company, but handcrafted itineraries built through actual relationships he's developed over the years with clubs and properties around the world. And we're going to dive into it all, baby. The golf season's here. We want to talk about travel. This is next level. So let us heads. Without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Michael Pelliccione. I even got the name right. Michael, how are we doing?
Nice job. How you boys doing? Good?
Great, man.
Doing good.
So first, I love the intros. I'm never going to get away from them. Everyone says they're over the top, but that's what it makes it fun, right? But so we got to start with just the raw. I don't want to dominate. Before we went live, I was like, I don't want to dominate the whole time window of just talking. You've played the top 100 US global. That's a feat of not a lot of people can say they've done. But I do want to go through, now that I've never spoken to somebody who's done that. So I do want to start there of like, how does that journey even begin? Like, are you just getting access and, you're ticking a few off and then you go, maybe I could go after this. Like, when do you know it's even feasible to start that track?
I mean, that's such a good question. I think when it started for me about almost call it 10 to 12 years ago. Moved out of the city, wanted to start playing some more golf. Basically started playing local golf around me. And, you kind of got the itch and you're like, you know what, I want to take a trip. And we ended up taking our first trip, me and my brother-in-law, to Pinehurst, and played number 2 and all the courses around there. And then, like all of us, after that trip happens, you look for the next one. And you look for the next one. And, not being a member anywhere, not really having many connections, you kind of just go after the low-hanging fruit. And, you start playing, the resort golf courses. And you really, once you get that first taste of like that difficult private golf course invite, you're like, man, how many more of these are out there? All of us eventually sit down at the bar or whatnot and with their phones on, like, how many of these have we actually played before? And you'd be shocked. I think when I did, I was at like 30, 35. And, the game is very, very giving, and, met a couple really cool people that helped with a couple tough invites. And then the list just starts to grow and grow. And then it's up to you if you want to keep it going. And, some are tough, really tough to get on. And I found those ones to be the easiest invites, and the ones that you think are easy to get on take a while. And just got to be patient and have fun with it, man. Like, don't rush the process, because, it goes quick, but it's a fun journey. So
I will say, so I could see some people, like, no one loves a cynic more than me, of already being critical of, like, oh, well, the top 100, whatever, 70 of them are private access, right? And of the 70, there's 20 that I got no chance. But I will say, outside of 1 or 2, I kind of had the same experience with members, like, want people to see their golf course too, right? So it is this process in your golf journey of, some of it's just like kismet, being at the right place, right time. You're at the bar, like you said, and talking to some people. Oh, someone gets added to the trip who is a member somewhere, and then that process starts. So you can't really force it, but also I do think, like, you said, the game's giving people. I don't know how magnanimous it is, but people want you to come see the club. So if you're a decent person to be around, it is more executable than I think people give.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone is always looking for that one course they want to play on, and they'll run into someone who knows someone that can get them on, and you have something to give as well. And listen, man, I've made so many good relationships traveling this world and playing great golf courses and hosting people at my clubs that, it just comes back full circle. And that's why we are members at these places, to show them off and to talk about them and walk the fairways with them. So, there are a few that are really tough to get on, and you got to be patient. But you'd be surprised if you start to get in that upper 90s list, the circle starts to get a little small, and people definitely give a hand out to help.
Well, and golf's so relational at its core anyway. It's such, even though the game is growing, and especially since COVID, it's still such a tight circle in your communities you're in. So you're going out to a restaurant, you're talking about golf. There's 3 people in that restaurant talking about golf, So once you start making it relational and you build the relationships, I feel like it starts getting a little easier.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So how do you make the top 100 stateside? It's like, I can conceive it, right? But how did you go from that leap of, like, when did you start dabbling into the international travel? Because then, that's global. Obviously, that's probably not highbrow commentary for a podcast, but how do you start ticking that off effectively?
Yeah. So, I mean, great question. And my first international trip was 2016 with my brother-in-law again. And, we played a lot of the US resorts, and you kind of hit that wall. Like, where on this list can you play that you can get on? And the beautiful thing about international golf, and I think on the most recent Golf Magazine list, almost 50% of the golf courses are accessible. And, we're like, why don't we go to Ireland? I mean, how cool that'd be to go out of the country for the first time and play golf. And, we landed and played Portmarnock and Portrush and County Down, and went down into Lahinch, Ballybunion, Waterville, Old Head, and, like, right then and there, it was like 7 days of, like, top 100 golf. It just hit you hard. And then, to me, like, the U.S. market is exceptional. Playing a private golf course in the U.S. is awesome. What I love about the international side is, we all play golf the same, but their traditions are just a little more different. The way they conduct themselves, the way the clubhouse looks, the tradition, the weather, what they do post round. It to me, that tells a real different story that you can't get in the States. And it's sort of addicting, if you ask me. And, one trip led to another. We're like, well, we did Ireland, let's do Scotland, and let's do England. And, there's close to 30, 40 in GBI in the top 100 world. And, there's a lot of trips, and it'll keep you busy, but it's awesome going over there. So that's sort of how it got us over there. And, the rest is history.
Well, and two, it's funny. We had one phone call conversation. We did talk about, some of the resort golf complications too. We'll get into some more of the golf planning specific stuff here in the next segment, but like Bandon Dunes is the easy example, right? That it's so difficult to book now at this point. But it's also not just the booking. If you're East Coast United States, it's also just difficult to get there. I always said, from Atlanta, I can get to Ireland and Scotland, or at least to primary destinations within those countries faster than I can realistically get to Bandon Dunes. So there's another part to that. I think there's like a mental leap of the international travel that it's like, oh, you just got to start it. But if you're an East Coast United States, or it's from a cost and a time perspective, it's not that much different than if you're going to check out some big, like Bandon being the obvious one out west.
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle too that I'm finding, especially with the younger generation, is like committing a week to a golf trip in Ireland is tough. Like either you're going to go before you have kids and start a family, or you're going to go well after that. And going to Pinehurst and Streamsong and Sand Valley, you can do those in 2-3 days. You can pound a lot out, but you can't do that over there. You need time. You need to get around, and just getting people to commit to the length of time is challenging. You're right. Like, when you're on California getting to Ireland, that's all about 12 hours of flying. So it's not easy.
Yeah, that definitely is, the inverse issue of the East Coaster. But that too, because when you're there, like, it's much more like, it's nice to just go park at a resort and you play some golf with your buddies for a few days to get away. But when you're going on like a walkabout journey in Scotland or Ireland or wherever it is, you want to take it all in. Like you said, the proper traditions and the proper pubs and what you're doing post round. Like that's just another level. But I do, well, Jewel, and it ain't Jewel, you're going to have to cut me off. So you got questions.
I know. I'm just over here dreaming a little bit.
I know. It's okay. You can.
But also, I will say, like, to your comment about the 2 windows of life on when you really should be able to do this. That was going to be my follow-up question to Andrew's first question. It's like, how do you do it at this point? I see that you do take your kid and your wife with you on some of these trips too. That's got to be part of the equation. Like Andrew, we've been talking about this a little bit on some of these trips. Like the wives got to come a little bit. They've got to come for like 25% of the trips. Maybe, I don't know. We got to figure a percentage out, but they've got to be happy about it too. And just got to make it work. And it's really hard.
Yeah. And listen, man, like, I love to travel. My wife loves to travel, and golf courses and fairways kind of dictate where you go. And why would you go to New Zealand? Why would you go to Australia? And why would you go to Japan if you weren't going for golf? And on the international side, I've been fortunate that she wanted to come with a lot of these trips, and I have a crazy story with her coming on one of them. But those trips are more of a golf vacation, right? Like there is incredible golf, but there's other things to see. And if I can bring someone along with me to do it, she'll come. So I've been lucky in that regards.
Well, you kind of, I don't know, and feel free if you need to tell us the details of that wild story, but I think I was going to follow up with you on that too, of how much of the list did you do? So it was communal with your brother-in-law that kickstarted it, but I'm assuming at some point you're getting to, you're either doing a lot of this solo, or you're doing it, like you said, maybe a spouse or whoever's with you, but they're not actually playing the golf course.
Yeah, I would say like it's a mix. Like a lot was with Tyler, a lot Ashley came along, a lot were solo missions, and on those solo missions, I think what the beauty about those is it kind of forces you to reach out to people and network. and meet new people. And I remember I went on a trip that was basically all of England, right? And landed in London and went down to the southern coast and went over to Kent, Sandwich, and then up to Liverpool and back down. And every spot I stopped at was with a different member. So like every different day was a different host. And yeah, you're solo on these trips, but you also have a golf companion waiting for you at the next spot. And building your network that way. And you know, you play one place at Liverpool and you're telling your guy you're playing St. George's Hill the next day, and they know each other. And that golf world is so small, and you just kind of build the community that way. You know, there's not many crazy people out there that would travel as much as I do. So you start to lose a couple people, and you're like, I got to go take this on my own. But you know, there's also enough people that are willing to take the journey with you, as long as you're willing to set it up and do all the legwork for it. So
I know about that thing.
Sounds incredible. God.
yeah.
I think a lot of people would be scared of that, but I do think well, one, you know, people golf for different reasons. I respect that. But I've had on a very micro scale, a couple of those experiences, at least going to golf somewhere where I didn't know anybody. I'm being hosted or meeting people that I didn't know. But the thing is, the people that are doing that, either willing to host or meeting up, they're kind of cut from a similar ilk, right? Yeah. Now, maybe if you spent 3 weeks with each other, you would find out you don't have a ton in common, but you know what you're going to be talking about there. How amazing is this? Your other communal golf experiences. What's the next thing? Oh, you know, so-and-so. So it's it's pretty amazing, like, hack in a way of like, you build a network, but it's also a network of people of pretty like-minded interests, of somebody who really puts and respects what is being done.
Yeah. And I always say that this is the only thing in the world that can bring two people complete opposite, you know, on from like a pay scale, from a social class, from whatever, come together for 4 or 5 hours, have an amazing time, have a common bond, talk golf, and then go separate ways. And whether you keep that relationship or not, that's the beauty about golf. You know, you could play with the CEO for 5 hours and take his money and have a good time. Where else are you going to do that in this world? You're not. And that's the beauty about golf.
So I do have to, while we're rounding out the top 100 course discourse, and I'm sure it'll kind of come back up a couple times in the conversation, I got to just ask the super simp questions of what's their favorites. I had the note of like top 5 public, private, and international. You don't have to break it down that way, but what are just those ones? Let's start stateside that are just top of Mike's list, no matter what. Like, these are just the gold standards of either personally or just like like your experience you had there, or just this is a golf course that speaks to me.
Yeah. So like the way I view golf courses is different than some. Like, once I play 18, I walk off that course. Can I go back to the first tee and play it again? Like, did I have a lot of fun? You know, I'm more in the camp of like short, quirky, you know, just the ground kind of does things to your balls that you don't want it to do. That's the type of golf I like. And, you know, outside my home course, it's hard pressed not to say Cypress Point is the best course on earth, the best walk on earth. It's hard to believe that Mackenzie was able to pull off what he did there. It's really, really spectacular. And that would probably be my number one. If I had to play anywhere, that would be it. National Golf Links of America, how much has come from that golf course? To me, there's no better course for fun and variety and shot making, and just going out to East Hampton and playing on a summer day is pretty spectacular. That is good. When you get international, it really starts to become more of an experience, and the golf is incredible, but what else are you getting with that? And, you know, like a day in Japan is, you know, we could have a whole podcast on what it's like to play in Japan and how they do things. And, you know, probably the best day I ever had golfing was at Royal Melbourne, and, you know, playing both East and West and being out there the whole entire day and perfect weather and great host. And that's sort of what I look for now. You know, like, you know, I love playing those great golf courses, but the experience to me is everything, and who you're with makes definitely a difference. But I get that question all the time, and it's really hard for me to answer what my top top 5 are, you know.
Well, what about maybe what are some I guess hidden gems isn't the right term when we're talking top golf courses, but what are maybe some that you think are a little unheralded, punch above their
Yeah.
weight?
Yeah, you know, now that like you're not pressured to play anywhere because you quote unquote collected all the pencils. My last 2 trips were Portugal, and you know, Portugal doesn't have a top 100 golf course. It has some really, really good golf. To me, that is a trip that, you know, I keep thinking about. You know, the trip before that, I went to Wales, and you know, Royal Porthcawl is very close to getting in the top 100, but to me, that is just exceptional golf that, you know, no one ever speaks of. And the trip before that was Spain. So like those trips are the ones that I really look forward to going to next, is the ones that people don't know about, and there's not a lot out there on there. And you know, I can do as much research and planning, but there's going to be an element of surprise. Whereas you go to Southwest Ireland, like, yeah, it's going to be an awesome first trip, but you know where you're playing. You know,
Right.
you've seen it all on social media. It's hard not to, you know, do your research. But when you go,
Yeah, OD on content before you go out there. I get, yeah, we've run into that.
oh yeah,
So what so obviously I'm not gonna ask you to name the property, but is there ever experiences though too when you like you just didn't get it? Like why is this one so revered?
yeah. So I'll give you one example from the place you're playing, and I could go on hours at that place, but the one that really resonated with me was this. So we arrived and we're in the grill room having lunch, and there's 8 tables, and they're all pretty much occupied with people having lunch. And you know, the spot where you eat versus where you hit golf balls is about a 50-yard walk, and you hit it down Magnolia Lane. You don't hit it where the pros play. We get up and we walk to the range, and I get up there, and you kind of trying to find where you're going to hit at, and you realize your 4 bags are there already, and you kind of look left and right. You're like, well, no one else is up here, and it took us 30 seconds to walk here. Like, who contacted who? And those 30 seconds to bring our bags up. Like, no one. Like, we went straight to the range, and that's like the level of detail that you got at that place. And yeah, you know, playing that back 9, you'll never forget when you crest the 11th fairway and see Amen Corner. Like, it really does hit you hard, but it's all the little other details that they do at that place so right that makes it so magical. And it's awesome that they, you know, they play it there every year. And you know, but being kind of behind the ropes for a couple of days was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, the last thing I'll ask on this topic, formally is let's throw public golf a little bone. So, you know, people sometimes give us crap that think we have a deep library of courses we've played. And then it's always bigger fish in the sea. I was like, man, we're nothing burger compared to a lot of the folks out there on their journey. But what obviously you said, you know, international is nice because the majority of it's accessible, the great golf. So what are you seeing stateside that you think is publicly accessible that you would say is, hey, like these are legit options that are you know, deliver the experience and or at least the level of golf that you should if you're going to dedicate 3 to 5 to 7 days on a golf trip?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the top domestic is actually harder to get on than the top international. I think the demand at Bandon Dunes and the Sand Valley is kind of unmatched. I think pound for pound, Sand Valley is probably the best resort with Lido now. I think it is pretty remarkable what they're doing there. But you know, don't sleep on Big Cedar Lodge. I think the money that they're investing down there, the 3 golf courses they have, plus the 3, they call them short courses, but they're nothing but a short course. It's a pretty remarkable property. There's a lot to do. The lodging, the lake, the food. It's pretty much an awesome spot you got to go visit. Scottsdale is a really good spot. There's a ton of options there. You know, Omni Frisco with the new PGA headquarters. That's a pretty cool spot. But I feel like the domestic market, something's popping up every year, and it's so hard to keep up with it. And, you know, that's the beauty about golf. You know, if one place is busy and you can't get on, there will be another place you can get to. And, you know, Stream Song just announced their 4th course, the name of it. I mean, we all know it's coming, but I'm sure there'll be a 5th there. And, you know, Rodeo Dunes is going to open up in a couple months, and that'll be remarkable. So,
yeah, I've heard some pretty good things through a mutual friend that Rodeo Dunes is looking like it's going to be the real deal. Out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I think they're slated for like 5 golf courses too.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into the mechanics. Not too bad, only about 24 minutes of just foaming at the mouth. We could have done 24 hours, but let's talk a little bit about Red Stag. So tell us why'd you start it? How did this
Yeah.
start? Give us a little Spark Notes version of it.
Yeah, I had no intentions of starting a travel company. I just loved golf and I love travel. And for almost 20 years, I worked on Wall Street. I was a trader and traded stocks, and I needed something to do besides trade stocks, and fell in love with golf. And kind of came into a crossroad with the job, and did I want to stay with it, or ultimately do something I'm truly passionate about and something I truly love. And dabbled around for a little bit of a year and kind of got my feet underneath me and decided to launch my own company. And we've been around for almost about a year and a half now. And, it's purely based on, my experiences and my knowledge. And, you think you knew a lot about golf travel because you did it for yourself. It's a totally different animal when you do it for a group of 4, 8, 12, 16 people. And, I think when I first started traveling, demand was not what it was. And today it's insane. And just educating clients on that. A lot of people think, they can go over to Northern Ireland and just play where they want to play anytime and no issues. And my job is to kind of really walk them through that and let them know what's realistic and what's not. And, it's been a great 16 months. We had a lot of really good success so far and hope we can keep it up. But, the end goal is just to really educate the consumer on what we know and allow people to see the world like I did.
Well, Mike, I just submitted a request about an hour ago. I'm gonna put you to the test. I submitted for 4 guys. We're gonna start in Scotland, and then I want to connect over to Japan, and then back to Spain, and then we're gonna finish in Ireland. And there's a reason for that. And then we're only staying in bed and breakfast. I don't want 3-star, 4-star, 5, just bed and breakfast. So we're gonna put you to the test pretty quick.
I mean, it's possible. Like you just gotta look at 4 different trips.
The website's fantastic. I got hooked the moment I popped on the first page, and right in the center it says, "Golf is such a unique game. You make great friends, you experience different cultures, and celebrate traditions. Travel well." And I just loved it. I thought that's a great introduction for people visiting your website.
Thank you.
It's to the point, and it hit like you just said it. And like as a golfer, I get like a little glassy eyed.
Yeah, I did too.
I got to turn off the 4K because it's the what could be too. So would you say I think I'm deducing this from what you've talked about already, Mike, would you say the biggest misconception of starting your international golf travel is maybe not the ease of it, but the what you just said, the access or the demand right now of like you really need to be planning this much further in advance? And then if that is the answer, if not, correct me, but how do you get people, because that's another thing. You talk about the younger generation. It's even for us being late 30s and having young kids, it's kind of hard to be like, all right guys, September 2027, 10 days we're going to here. But I mean, if you're going to check off some of these courses, it kind of sounds like that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. So Royal County Down, which is arguably the #1 course in the world, they opened their books last 2 weeks ago, end of February. That day, the entire following year will be sold out. They'll sell it out. So if you wait one day, you're just going to have to wait to 2028. And what I'm starting to notice is just the marketing that the golf courses are starting to do. What's out there on social media? It's just pushing the calendar further and further out to plan. Like I said, when I used to do these trips, you could do start of the year and go to County Down in September, and now you're going to have to be 18 months. I do think there's going to be a point where you're 24 months out if you really want to get the trip you want. And speaking of a guy who just got married, thinking about having a kid and family, like you could have 2 kids in 24 months, let alone 1. And like a lot can change. But, also you have to set expectations, right? Like you want to go over there and play top 100 golf, and there's more to it. So, and it's not going to be your only trip. So I always tell people, like, this is the trip we can go for. We just have to see what it's like when things open, and you just have to be realistic. And there's so many good supplemental golf courses. I never use the word B-side golf courses. They're supplemental, and they do fill the trip. And ultimately, when people come back from a trip, that might be their favorite golf course. So, it's just the golf world we're in, and everyone wants to travel, everyone wants to play, and COVID was a big reason for that. And just setting expectations, educating clients is what I do all day long.
So would you is the requests that come in most common, like they have an anchor course, like I want to play Royal County Down, I want to play whatever the old course, just pick, and then that is like predicated or based on availability or what you can get, then you build a trip around that? Or are people coming with a little bit more, here's the 3-4 I want to hit? It sounds like with your top offerings in each country, or at least UK, it's almost like if you're going to do like that's, I've always, with the old course, it can be a constraint, right? Because it's a hard tee time to get. It's like you can build this awesome trip out, or you can be subordinate to securing your old course tee time and then trying to build out a trip around that for supplemental courses, as you call it.
Yeah. I would say, 1 in 10 come to me with like a strict demand. And, my first question is like, this is not your first trip, right? And they're like, no, this is our 4th trip. We want to go to Northern Ireland. But for the most part, people just want to go to Ireland in general. People just want to go to Scotland in general. And they're like, where do we go? And they come to me for those answers. And yeah, they might say, hey, this location looks awesome, or my buddy played there, I'd love to do that. And listen, if availability is there and we can pull it off, we'll start with that. But if it's not available, then this is the secret sauce of Red Stag. We'll kind of guide you where you can go and what you can do. And most people say they want to go to Ireland or the old course. And I feel like, why is that the case? Why is Ireland so popular and people just think of Scotland as the old course? It is hard to say. Also where they played the Open the prior year normally drives a lot of demand too. So obviously Portrush will be through the roof, and Birkdale will be through the roof next year. And but yeah, I think it goes so many different ways. People come with a custom trip, or they just say, hey, help us out and make it work.
How do you do it with the balancing of like staying really tight geographically versus exploring 1 or 2 regions? Like, I know there's pros and cons to both, so it's probably not a fair question to be like, give me a 1-sentence answer. But that's one thing I've struggled of like, okay, we're going to start our Ireland, Scotland, England golf travel. And it's like, I'm sure you could tell me, okay, to effectively do everything you'd want to do, it's X amount of trips, right? But you're trying to get greedy and be like, okay, I want to do Southwest Ireland, but maybe I can extend 3 days and do another region there. But it's hard because like it's I think we talked for a little bit about how much I loved Ballyneal and that experience and just being parked there and playing the course over and over and over. However, if you are trying to check off a lot of experiences, it's hard to just stay right there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's a great question. And some trips allow you to stay right there, like Liverpool and London and Dublin. Like you could stay in one spot for 6-7 nights and you run out of days before you run out of golf courses. And other places you need to move, like Southwest Ireland, which is probably the one trip that requires the most driving every single day. You just have to do it. Nothing is really centrally located. If you look at a clock, Lahinch is at 9 and, Old Head's at 6, and you're somewhere in the middle, and you're going to kind of just spider web every day back and forth. Listen, people are very ambitious on these trips, and they come to me and they want to do like the unknown. And I always tell people like, listen, you're going to only be able to take a week off from work. I don't think this is going to be your only trip. Let's just go to one area, see everything that there is to offer, and then just make the most of it. And, if you want to do something crazy, and if you guys stay back and peel off and go do a course that's not part of that area, we could do that. But I've put a lot of insane trips in front of people, and it just finally gets funneled back down to the norm. And, typically you're working with, 6 days type of thing, and, just kind of work within those boundaries.
Yeah,
So-
you. Sorry, go ahead, Jewel.
I was just going to ask because this kind of feels like it's on that path. If we were to start looking at a trip for us for next year in the summer, like where would you tell us to start, having not been overseas yet? I mean, I've got an idea of where I would like to go, but I'd be curious if you were trying to set us up. Like, all right, first trip over there. This is where I'd put you guys. You got six nights, 4 guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. The first question I would ask is like, how much do you guys want to move around? And if you're like, we want to move around a lot, not a big deal. I think, Southwest Ireland, if you look at all my trips for 2026, I think, there's 12 going to Southwest Ireland, and it dominates. It dominates. And that's probably one trip from, Monday to Friday. The quality of golf is very consistent. It's very high level. Killarney as a town is one of the best towns for, going out and going to pubs and kind of getting that flavor of Irish culture. That is obviously my first choice, but it's also probably the most popular. But there's also places like Northwest Ireland that, are so unknown. And those courses have been around for hundreds of years. And it's raw, it's authentic, it's rolling dunes. Like, just when you think of Irish golf, that's what you think of. And St. Patrick's obviously is the one spot up there that everyone wants to play, and that's obviously very much helped that region out tremendously. And the value you get in that trip is great. So listen, man, there's so many things. It's budget, time, travel. Do you want to play top list golf courses, or do you want to kind of play the unknown? And that's why a conversation is always important to have with your client and figure things out.
So a lot of the conversation keeps going back to Ireland, which is totally fine. But am I picking up you have more of an affinity for Ireland and then Scotland in your golf travels?
Well, so if I had a week to play golf and could never play again, it would be in London. I think London, pound for pound, Heathland golf. So it's not links golf. So when you talk to people about London, they're like, well, I want to play links golf. Why would I go to London? If you look at the top 100 list that Golf Magazine put out, and you take a 5-day, 5-course window, London will have the most top 100 out of any trip, within reason, as long as you're not moving around too crazy. I just think, something about playing summertime where that heather's purple and blooming, and, like Sunningdale and Swinley Forest and St. George Hill, like the history at those places, like, to me, that's what I love. Scotland's phenomenal. And the thing I like about Scotland a lot is that's the one spot where you're going to have to move around. So you're going to get a little bit of an East Lothian, Ayrshire. You're going to get up to the Highlands. You're going to get to Aberdeen. You're going to get to St. Andrews. You're going to see 2 or 3 spots, whereas, Ireland, you're kind of more concentrated in one region. So Scotland is a little trickier to pull off because you're looking at different pockets, whereas Ireland, you're just really focused on one. But yeah, I know I kind of went off there, but
No.
London's one you have to check off. And the cool thing about London is, if you want to get that links golf experience, you can always do a day trip out to Royal St. George's, where Colin Morikawa won the Open, play Cinque Ports, play Prince's, which is hosting a Walker Cup in a couple of years. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds with a London Sandwich Kent trip. So,
wow. So what about when people are coming to you of unrealistic expectations of like group sizes, right? Of, it's a little easier to fit 1 out versus 2 versus 4 versus 6. I mean, are most people like, hey, here's my core group of 4, let's knock out a trip, or are people coming with anything crazy?
Yeah, listen, I'm always in the camp, like, your odds are really good with 8 people. And, you could do a 16-person trip, but getting up every day and loading the bus to go to different places, like, it's a lot of herding cats and a lot of babysitting. And, the first group finishes and the last group is like 6 holes behind. And listen, man, you want to go with all your buddies. And the problem with that is it's so many different opinions, right? You get one guy in the group that doesn't want to play this course or doesn't want to go to this location and stalls things out. So I always tell people, let's start with 8. Let's build on it. And if you want to grow off it, we can. But
yeah,
eight's a good number. To me, any more than that from my seat, it's annoying. And it's too much on the pressure on the lead guy too as well. He's got a big role in the trip too as well. And that guy's just constantly.
Jules laughing. You can say it, Jules. You're just thinking me going, I got to do everything for these damn guys. So, I don't know if anyone would have left their house the last 2 years if I wasn't alive.
Wait, hold on. Don't throw me in that bucket.
you-
Look, I was laughing
rel-
because I was thinking about a group of 16 and how much anxiety I would have, which I already have anxiety with thinking about Aaron getting up and being on time for a tea time.
We got 4
Exactly.
of us. We got 4 of us going stateside in 3 days down to, and it's already like logistically, like you feel like I'm not going to hold your hand and tell you everything to do, but if I don't, there's a high risk that you're just not going to be there.
Yeah.
So
Listen, if it's 16 guys, they're going to Liverpool, they're going to London, one hotel, so they're not having to change.
Yeah.
Late, they can just Uber to the course. Like, I can't be bothered with it. We do get. I mean, we have 32 women going to Spain and a couple.
Oh my gosh!
Dang.
And
Maybe they'll play
that
mahjong.
hopefully.
Yeah.
That's been a process, but it's a fun group. They're actually very easy to work with, and so it should be fine. Hopefully.
Do you ever offer to just like man, we got 7. Do you ever have to jump into these trips that you're planning for these guys now?
Listen, I'm a little laxed on filling the group. So if you get 7 guys, like we'll power through it, and I'll cover the last spot. And as we get closer to departure day, I'm like, what are we doing with that last spot? Like, are you covering it, or like is someone going? They're like, I don't know, we might not have a spot, and like there's always an opening, and like sometimes I'll jump on, but listen, it's not my group and stuff like that. But there's one group going to London this year, and they have a spot open, and I keep asking her like, hey, listen, can I be that last person? But someone will always come through. Someone will always come through last minute and jump in.
Well, Andrew's very quick on his feet. He makes plans quickly around the house. He can jump on a flight and be somewhere, I'd say, within 7 hours. Like the dude moves quick for golf, and his family is very open to it. He does a good job of being a dad and a husband. So
thank you.
You're welcome to it, but
I hate the accusation that I hate the accusation that I'm not. I just plan, and I've been with my wife a long time. We were in college all together. So I spent a decade of dating, engagement, marriage, pre-kids, of like stipulating this is going to be an important part of my life. I'll give up everything else. No more fantasy sports, no more video games, no more. I don't even care. I don't even hang out with anyone unless you come on the pod to talk. We don't even talk to people anymore. Yeah. But it's like, see me at the golf course, see me on the podcast. Other than that, we're all good.
Have you guys ever been overseas or not?
No. So that's wow. It's crazy because like it's kind of one of the reasons why I teed it up. It's like the almost pulling the trigger and then being like, God, well, we got these 3 things lined up stateside, so we're just gonna bank on that. But we've gotten to the point, you said it earlier, we're kind of out. Of course, there's stuff we still want to do over here that you can knock out in a day trip, but we're about to do like the last big thing that would require a 3-4 day type of trip. Everything else would just be reattacking Abandon or getting up to Monterey or whatever it is. But my goal moving forward is I want to be layering in like every 18 months to start doing this, because I don't have, that's not, obviously I don't have indefinite funds, but at some point it's like, I got to start doing it. I got to start chipping away. If I got to go to Ireland a few times and Scotland a couple times, and I got to get to London a couple times, and then like before you know it, well, how many years do you have left of good golf and, physically being able to enjoy it to that level? So, you're my resource to figure out how to expedite this moving forward.
It's funny though, like a lot of the younger guys that I speak to in their 30s and 40s, like they're doing arrive on Wednesday, leave Sunday. I'm like, wow, you're going all the way to Ireland for that? And they're like, yeah, listen, we've done everything in the States. We want to kind of keep that 3-4 day window, and they can accomplish a lot. And, like they look at it as like, listen, it's either that or nothing. So we're just going to kind of suck it up and boots on the ground and go. And I'm finding those guys to allocate a 7-10 day trip are just, they're non-existent. The new generation wants that quick hit trip and get out. And, I love those. Those are great. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear, because I think that's mainly how we're gonna have to do it. With all of us have 2 kids and jobs and whatnot, and it's just it seems like it'd be really hard to do 10 days right now without the spouses
No.
coming.
Yeah.
You don't need that, man. Like from Atlanta, you can get to Dublin on a Wednesday and come back Saturday and probably play 4 golf courses and, have an incredible trip. Like it's
God,
not
let's
as
start planning
crazy thing.
today.
Yeah, let's go. I think I can pull off. Yeah, 10 days is probably aggressive on the family front, but it's almost like with work, cost is obviously always a factor. But it's like, hey, if I'm gonna be missing 3 days, I might as well just be gone for the week, and then I can leave, caddy corner the weekends and get my extra 2 days in. So I think a good 5-6 days of golf. And oh no, by the way, you know what else I hate to say, Mike? I am a terrible flyer. I've tried everything. Look, I consider myself logic above all. I've tried every technique. I understand how safe it is, but it's just like, sometimes biologically we're just not wired to be able to accept things. I do got a little prescribed cocktail to get me through it, but that's another thing of if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth of to do the leg of the flight. So but no, I'm definitely eager. I say it jokingly, but I am gonna be bugging you of okay, let's start trying to pull some stuff off for plug, because also that's been another constraint as we've kind of scaled a lot in the last, really 9 months, but especially the last 6. A huge part of what we're doing now is profiling golf courses via the podcast, but now we're doing full video production. So like, cool. Now we have a bunch of stuff lined up, but it's also like, I want to balance like the cathartic soul part of my golf life too, with just the business. This is a work trip part of the golf life.
Yeah.
So
we got it, man. Just do it now before you can't.
Yeah.
Take the trip. You'll remember forever. Like I talk about that first trip with Tyler about Ireland once a month, man. Like I'll never forget, like, funny story. So we landed and played Port Marnock right off the plane, and had lunch there, and we had to drive up to Port Rush, and it was about a 3-hour drive, and I'm in the passenger seat. I'm tired. I'm like, man, I'm gonna just, we need some Tylenol too. So I thought I gave him Tylenol. I gave him Tylenol PM.
Damn, dude, that's dirty.
And I fall asleep immediately, and I wake up at Port Rush. I'm like, man, I feel great. And he's like, dude, I thought I was gonna kill ourselves. Like, and he just was so tired. But like, we talk about that story all the time, and it's just like I said at his best man speech and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, you gotta go, dude. It's so much fun.
Yeah, no, well, it's definitely gonna happen. So I do, as we're kind of running out of time, and Jewel, rapid fire any you have. But so a lot of what we talked about was UK international travel, just because that's the majority of what people think about. But you did mention New Zealand, Australia, Japan. Let's talk about Japan, or just the Asian golf scene. What was that like? Culturally, I know I also don't want to sound like a naive American of saying what was Asian golf like. I know I'm sure culturally in Japan versus Korea versus wherever it's different, but give us some insight.
Like completely different than what you would ever experience. And I don't want to speak out of line here. My facts might be wrong, but I'll try my best. So, Japan is really much about honor and tradition and respect. And the game of golf is really focused around business. And, these type of higher end places, a lot of the golf was used for business and making deals. So, typically you'd arrive around 7, 8 o'clock and jacket and tie and go into the locker room and change and, into your golf clothes, and go have a coffee and tea, and then go hit 12 golf balls. There was really no concept of range, and you hit 12 golf balls, you play 9 holes. And then after 9 holes, you get off and have lunch, and you have a proper sit down 3-course meal lunch. And I think the reason they used to do that is, because you're trying to make business deals on the golf course, if you're not playing well and you're not really talking to the guy you're trying to do business with, this sort of allows you to regroup and reset, right? And you go back out and play the other 9 holes, and you come back in and have another drink, and then this is when like tradition culturally sets in. Like, You go back to the locker room and take your clothes to another area and change into a towel and go into the room, and there's hot tubs, and you kind of soak in an onsen hot tub for a couple hours and come out and get changed and go through the rooms again and go up and have drinks. And next thing you know, it's 5, 6 o'clock. And that's the only way they do golf over there. There's no showing up at 3 o'clock to play 9 holes with your buddies. It's very, very strict guidelines on when you play your front 9 and your back 9, and things close at 4 or 5 o'clock because everyone's got to take the train back to the city to get home. And, there's no flex on that. And, they're so proud to do it that way. And again, we're playing golf and we're putting the ball on the ground, putting the ball in the hole, but it's all those other things that you had no clue that you would do it. And I remember I spent hours and hours and talking to people, research, like, what do I do? What do I bring? Like, where do I go? And like, we'll figure it out. The first place you'll go to, like, you'll totally do everything wrong. And the next place you get in, like, that's what's so cool about it. And then on top of that, you're in Tokyo, you're in Kobe, you're in Kyoto, like, just experiencing the cuisine, the culture, just, it was an incredible trip, and one that I always look back, will I be able to do that one again? I hope that's one I'll be able to check off again, but that was remarkable. And, Hirono and Kawana and Tokyo and Narua, like, those places are all top 100 beaters. So it's best of both worlds.
Wow.
It sounds phenomenal. As long as you can set the expectation for yourself and you understand what you're getting into, so you don't have that time constraint, because otherwise I'd be getting anxiety the whole time. Like, I got to go. It sounds phenomenal. Just to be able to kind of relax, know what you're doing. You're there for the entire day. That sounds phenomenal. But I do have another question that kind of bounces off of that conversation. I was going to say it earlier, but Andrew just kept on cruising.
That's how we roll.
The cultural scene and how you approach just trying to get immersed into the culture of these places you go to, because these guys give me a hard time when we're going to on a golf trip. I'm looking at, all right, I want to go check out this restaurant here, and I want to go to this brewery and check out this place, and I want to kind of feel the culture of the city or this town we're in. How do you approach it when you go on these trips?
And that's a great question. And every client that I work with asks 1,000 questions leading up, like, where should we eat? Where should we drink? And there's definitely the places that you need to check off, and these are the places you need to see. But the beauty about this is, you're going to be golfing with people from all over the world in Ireland or Scotland or England. And after the round, you're going to have a drink in the clubhouse, and you're going to have a Guinness, and you're going to talk to the people next to you, and they're going to say, hey, did you go? We just got back from La Hinch, and you guys are going there tomorrow. If you do go, check out this place, request this caddy, have this to eat. And like, you sort of gain so much on the trip that I always tell people, like, don't overplan. Like, there's definitely a couple spots you want to check off, but just let it come to you. And I've done hours of research for Japan and Australia, New Zealand, and like, you end up only doing 10% of it because stuff comes up or something better comes up. And it's our job to kind of show you where to go, but also leave a little room for the unknown. I always tell. And the best part about these places is, like, the caddies over there are members. 99% of the time they're going to be a member, and they're so proud of their golf course. They're going to tell you, like, after the round, let's get a beer, or let's meet here after. And like, they truly make the trip. They truly complete the trip, and it's a lot different than what you get in the States.
So let me just jump in. Okay, so I was literally, I had my note here of I had to ask you about caddies, because you just answered me. So these, especially the UK destinations, caddy make the trip. A lot of times, or most of the time, they're members or they're from the town. It's a really special experience. That is not my experience. Look, caddies are already mad at me. I've tried to say it. I talked about it in a pod earlier this morning. Even when I say the word caddy, I want to be very crystal clear. I have different opinions of professional caddy versus resort caddy versus club caddy versus Evan Scholars caddies. Now I got to have a different opinion of the UK model of caddy. I get it. I'm not here at the end of the pod just to, I don't want anyone to lose their jobs or whatever it is, but I've found I've gotten next to no value of using a caddy in the United States. Except sometimes you just don't want to carry your stuff or don't want to have a pull cart. But you're telling me That is not the experience you're getting when you go over to these awesome destinations.
And normally, like, they'll be gambling on you. That you can't understand a word they're saying. They make the experience a little better. And let's be honest, the one thing you cannot prepare yourself is for a 5-club win, sideways rain, and the last thing you want to do is hoof your bag, and try to find your ball. It's just, you're there to enjoy it. You're there to have a good time. And again, they are so, in love with their golf course. They just make the experience. They want to be there. And when you want to be there, they'll definitely show up. And
what's the economic culture of it? I'm truly curious, because I find myself growing up with people in service industry. I'm empathetic to it, but I just feel like there's an outrageous subset of it that's grown in the caddy world in the United States. But what are expectations? You can't go, okay, I'll use Bandon. You go into some like Reddit message boards, you go into NLU's old little thing that they had, they would have Bandon caddies in there, and they would just straight up tell you, like, I don't care what they're telling you as recommendations. If you're not paying this gratuity on top of it, like, you're on our blacklist. Like, none of us are going to loop your bag. You're going to get the 50% of caddies that are dog shit. And it's like, on one hand, I appreciate the transparency, but on the other hand, it's like, man, if I'm paying for your services 50, 60, 70, 80% of what the rate of the round is, at some point there is, like, you better be bringing me immense value to this experience. And that's where I just net out on, I haven't yet to find that be true anywhere.
No, totally. Listen, man, like, to get a caddy that's with you for the whole 18 holes and totally engaged and stuff like that, those are hard to come by. Over there, I always say, like, pay your caddy $120 and he'll be really happy. You pay him $140, he'll probably buy you drinks after the round, kind of thing. And, but yeah, listen, it's
to me that also sounds pretty reasonable for, like, so you're playing top 100, or even if it's not, that seems pretty much what I think is where the market and model in service, like, that checks out to me.
They single bag too.
Oh, well, then that's
such a big difference.
Okay. Well, yeah. Now let's.
God, I just left a course in Georgia about 4 months ago, double bag, and I had to pay $170, and I feel like I got looked at weird.
Yeah,
and he's just like constantly going back across the fairway. No, he'll walk beside you the whole time, and like you'll know his whole family, because it's probably the only one you're talking to for 4 or 5 hours. So.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's probably another one I've had, is like, if I'm gonna have a caddy, that's probably, like, if it's a double bag, it's no offense to them, but it's just, I end up carrying my own stuff half the time anyways. And then it's like, even the benefits of, and now I'm just going on these rants. I hate when so I'm like, Jewel and I were decent golfers. Okay. We're not world beaters, but better than scratch. And we play plenty of bad golf, but it's like, I get so frustrated. You'd have a caddy and they just start giving you the laziest. I was like, dude, you don't have to come at me of like, it's like, you didn't even use your rangefinder. I get it. You've played out here 100 times. I want, how my brain works is like, I want to know 161 stick, because I'm looking at that bunker short left and I want to avoid that. And I want to make the decision. Don't just throw me a club and say, hit it. But having a caddy that you'd have a respect for, having that vibe with over 18 holes at a place like that, sounds like it'd be a pretty awesome experience.
And what's crazy is, like, the culture over there is they don't take caddies, right? And but when Americans come, I think it's just, they take them back home. Why would they want them here? They're on vacation. So most of the time I always request them, and they're always like, well, hopefully they show up.
What's the flexibility on now? My rapid fire's coming in. So how much? So these trips are planned. You got your anchor. You have your golf courses. You got some place you're going to go to. What's the flexibility at any of these clubs to get any, like, replay in, some sundown loops at 9, hitting some shots? Is there a lot of these? What's the term you used it? Not B courses, but supplemental in the region, where it's like, hey, well, if everyone's really vibing high and weather's great, let's go get an extra unplanned loop there for $80 or whatever it is at sundown.
Listen, all depends on the location. If you're going to like a really, really coveted spot for golf, the odds of finishing 18 and going back out again are there's someone else in that spot looking to take it, right? I always say, like, if you want to play 36 over there, find the places that have 2 golf courses, County Down, Portrush, Ballybunion, Rossapena, like just stay there and just play them. It makes most sense. You also have to understand, like, these courses we're visitors, we're not members. So there's windows that you can play in. So, if the window's 10 to 12 and you got 11 o'clock, trying to get to like a 5 o'clock tee time somewhere else an hour away is just not feasible. And, you always get people that think that, like, oh, we could play at 8 and play again at 3 somewhere. Like, that's not the case. But, there's definitely guys who want to run it back twice and, play 36. Like, you just got to plan well in advance for that, because if you try to add it on late, chances are like the times aren't going to work, because you're not going to be able to move times. Once that tee sheet closes, it closes for good, and it closes a year out. So.
Yeah, I guess I was maybe that was half of the question. The other half is like, how in any of these regions are there those kind of local, off the beaten path type of spots that aren't maybe member driven, or maybe you can just like pop in? It's always those ones I've found. They're not going to hit any list, but they can elicit some of like the core memories of trips, is when you just that thing you didn't expect, right? And you go and like, we just got the E9 in and the people were amazing, and like, yeah, so just
and yeah, no, and that's why, like, you get a driver for this, and that driver will know the answer, and you'll come off the course and be like, man, is there a place we can go get another 9 in or play? And he'll be like, yeah, Tane down the street, right from roll Dornick, we'll go play that, and you'll pop right in. But no, there definitely is those opportunities out there. There's endless golf and GB&I.
Okay, Andrew, keep that in mind whenever we start going through Red Stag and we need to select the box to get a driver, so that we get insight into extra nines. I think it's important.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, no, well, just having someone that knows how to get around and get there safely, right? Isn't that part of it? All right. Well, I'm out of my my laundry list of questions. Jewel, anything else before we wrap up tonight?
I mean, I'd just say, Mike, if you're ever looking for another job, you could definitely be a team psychiatrist for us, therapist. We could definitely use you every now and then.
Yeah,
absolutely. Where are you guys going next week? Or this?
So we're going down to Stream Song. So we're that's with, oddly enough, even us being in Atlanta, that's like it's almost like the proximity of it. I just never have checked it off, and we've gone everywhere else, and that hasn't. So yeah, they're hosting us out, and we'll be hitting up all the courses they have there. And now they have the chain, the Core Crenshaw short course. Then I'll go back in the fall for Bone Valley when that opens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, starting at the Blue, I love a Tom Doak course. So I don't have the loftiest expectations. That's going to change my life, but it's going to be firm, fast. Weather's going to be great. The whole plug crew is going to be there. We need a golf trip bad. It's been a tough winter.
No, it's cool, man. It definitely is an awesome spot. Everything's right there. The hotel's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The Blue, the first hole is cool. You kind of walk up like a mountain and hit on top of a peak. It's fun. Listen, you're not going to miss a fairway. It's you're probably going to score really well. But it's a good spot. It is.
Yeah. Well, I give me a little space off of a fairway. It could be a dangerous situation on the bet. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. But yeah, no, Mike, seriously, not only we appreciate the time, for me, just super interesting, not to I'm just trying to overstate it, but it's really cool to talk and kind of pick your brain of somebody who's actually seen it all, and now even better, taking that, not just gatekeeping it for yourself, but starting a business and helping other people all around, being able to get a little taste of it and get that addiction, as you call it. So really appreciate the time.
I appreciate it, guys. This was a lot of fun, and enjoy Stream Song. We'll catch up soon.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, man. So Lettuce Heads, you heard it here from the source. Stop what you're doing in the United States and get your ass overseas. Go to Red Stag Travel Co. Instagram, the website. Apparently, Jules audited it and he gave it the full thumb of approval, or 2 thumbs up. But we'll see you next week. And most importantly, stay plugged. Peace.
Also, great logo.
Nice.